from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster that hopes you'll put the chuggle in your snuggle. If by chuggle it means a nonsense word meaning something like a giggle, but not as like more like a chuggle. You know what I'm saying? If you do or you don't, maybe you will soon, because it's time for Sleep With Me. The podcaster is here to juggle, chuggle, and snuggle. And don't boggle out. It's time for Sleep With Me podcast to put you to sleep. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots here. And like usually this would be part of the whole, but this is like something I support. And I'm coming in here because I really want to encourage you to support the Asian members of our community. And one thing I support and you could support is to go to napawf.org right now. And that's the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum. It's the only organization focused on building power with AAPI women and girls to influence critical decisions that affect our lives, our families, and our communities. And as a father of an AAPI woman, this is really important to me. But as a member of this community and my broader community and my local community, it's important to me too. So if you go to napawf.org, you can take action right now in a few different ways. You can donate, you can sign their petition, and you can learn more. So I want to empower you right now to take action to support the AAPI members of our community. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots here. I got a couple quick questions for you. I always ask these, like, how many episodes of Sleep With Me do you listen to a month or a night? Is it 4? Is it 8? Is it 12? So that's question one. Question two, how much do you pay that mega cable corp or super streaming service, every single month? And then would you give Scoots a raise? Like, would you give Scooter a raise compared to what you pay that streaming service or your cable company from $0 to $5 a month, or from $0 to $10 a month, or $0 to $20 a month? And you might say, Scoots, this is a free podcast. That's the wackiest thing I've ever heard. And I say, yeah, those are the people I'm looking for. If you're in a stable financial position, you get value out of the podcast, especially considering the stuff you pay for every month. And then, yeah, are you that 1 out of every 100 people that's just wild enough to say, wait a second, I get what you're saying. I'm going to give you a raise from $0 a month to $10 a month because you're worth it. Because I get a lot out of the podcast. I listen every single night. And some of you might say, well, you might be like, you're a tougher boss. I get it. I respect that. And you might say, well, come into my office, Scooter. Yeah, you put me to sleep every single night or 4 nights a week. But what else is in it? And I say, okay, $5 a month, you get ad-free episodes. $10 and $20 a month, you get bonus episodes, all intro episodes, all night episodes. There is so much in. I don't know. Are you the kind of boss that's wild enough to pay for a free podcast? Are you the kind of supervisor that's so wacky you'd go from paying me $0 to $5 or $10 a month? Well, if you answered yes, and that's okay if you don't. Really, it's only a small percentage of people that really are that wild. So if you are that wild and you're in a position to do so, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. You could support the show. You could give value back for the value you get out of the show, and you get amazing bonus stuff. You're a part of an amazing community, and you're a rebel. You're so rebellious to pay for a free podcast. That's at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody. Sleep With Me is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. In May's Mental Health Awareness Month and throughout June, Sleep With Me is proud to join the cause of destigmatizing therapy. If you've been struggling with relationships or having difficulty sleeping, meeting your goals, if you've been feeling anxious or stressed, BetterHelp counselors can listen and help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional. You could start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. And BetterHelp's therapists have a broad range of expertise that may not be locally available in your area. The service is available for clients worldwide. All you need to do is log into your account anytime, send a message to your counselor. It's super easy to schedule weekly video, phone, or even live chat sessions. And BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they can make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. And so many people have been using BetterHelp that they've been recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. And again, I'm someone that utilizes therapy with a licensed therapist. It's a huge part of my ability to be here, to make the podcast, to live my life, and to be present and to flourish. And I really believe in therapy. And I know from my personal life that BetterHelp is helping. So this is just something you want to try out. If it's something you're interested in, if it's something you feel like you need or you want, our listeners can get 10% off their first month of online therapy at BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Are you thinking more about how to tighten up your budget these days? Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and customers can qualify for an average of 6 discounts when they sign up. A little off your rate each month goes a long way. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed in 2020. Potential savings will vary. Discounts vary and are not available in all states and situations. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone. The one part of the podcast I need you to hear, it's where I celebrate the listeners who supported the sponsors, let the sponsors know they heard about them on the podcast. You could sign up for the Sleepy Supporter Zone at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. I want to thank Ian, who supported Brooklyn and put it up on Twitter. Loving those percale sheets. Thank you, Ian. If you want to be like Ian, support a sponsor, tag him on social media, tag me, let him know about it. And I can try to thank you here on the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. There's links to resources in the show notes if you're in extra need right now. And it's about being a part of positive change, saying Black Lives Matter, saying stop AAPI hate with our actions as a part of all the communities we're a part of. There's links to resources so you could do that right in the show notes. And one organization I support is the Loveland Foundation, and that's at thelovelandfoundation.org. The Loveland Foundation is committed to showing up for communities of color in unique and powerful ways with a particular focus on Black women and girls. Their resources and initiatives are collaborative, and they prioritize opportunity, access, validation, and healing. And you could support them at thelovelandfoundation.org or use the link in our show notes. And that's the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. If you want to keep in touch with me, best way to do it is our newsletter, sleepwithmepodcast.com/newsletter. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. This is the all intro episode coming up here. So it's intro after intro after intro. It's a very, very popular thing. We do it for long weekends here in the U.S. If you really love all intros, you can get all intro episodes twice a month as a part of our Patreon at $10 a month, or you could save $10 by becoming an annual patron patron. You'll also get all-night episodes, and then $20 patrons are getting a special Ray episode. You get access all the way back to episode 2. But, not all intros aren't for everybody. That's why we put them out just a couple times a year. So you can take a journey. This is a bit of a jump back, almost 200 episodes. So look at the podcast in an earlier era as it ramble on and on and on. Thanks so much for listening. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, whether you're traveling, there's changes in time or temperature or routine. Whatever's keeping you up, I'd like to create a safe place. I'd like to smooth it and pat it and rub it down for you. Puff it up a little. Puff it and pat it and, mark it with, as they say, a SP for safe place. Or a YOU for you. This is your spot right over here. Or, you prefer that spot over there? That's just fine. You can move around if you wish. Yeah, but what I'm going to try to do is take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, rustified tangents, extra words. I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to say and ah. What I'm going to do is try to keep you company while you fall asleep. If you're new, welcome. Let me give you a couple of things to know up front. One, it takes usually a couple of times to get used to this podcast. Not for everybody. And it turns out the first few times it's almost not for anybody because you say, what is this the first time? And then you fall asleep. And then the second time you say, what was that that I was listening to? And then you fall asleep. And then the third time you say, oh, okay, I get it. I don't really get it. Or some people have a pre-time. We won't even say it's the first time. They encounter the podcast. And they say, are those creaky, what are those called? Are those aching, mulchy tones? And then they say, that probably not for me. And then maybe they try again. They say, oh, no, those are creaky, dulcet tones. If they weren't so creaky, they'd be, I think dulcet, it kind of means sweet. You say, okay, yeah, I thought they were leachy, mulching tones, but I guess they're more creaky, dulcet the second time I'm listening. The other thing is don't try to figure out the podcast too much or concentrate or focus because I do a lot of meandering. I do a lot of, what's that called when you filibustering? Holy moly. I mean, I bust a filler like you've never, you want to see somebody bust a filler and filler bust. If it wasn't for the patented name Dustbuster, I would sell something. I guess this podcast, I'd say this podcast is like the filibuster of Dustbusters or something. Or if I was like a good, I'd say, well, I'm going to bust some fills like a Dustbuster busts dust. I guess I just did that, but it wasn't as impact because I've been using these, lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. So don't try to figure out the show too much because my filibustering. Maybe I'll come back to that. But what else? Oh, structurally, what to expect. The show starts off with a few minutes of business. That's really how we keep the show going and free. Then we have an intro. The intros are about 12 minutes of me filibustering, trying to explain the podcast, but also trying to earn your trust to keep you company. Some listeners fall asleep during the intro. A lot of listeners use it as part of their wind down routine. They're calling their pets in. They're getting ready. They're getting snuggled in. Maybe they're brushing their hair or their teeth. Maybe they're filibustering bedtime. That would be more procrastinating. I'd like to filibuster. Well, let's see. I'll try to think of something. But some people skip the intro. Some people listen to intros all night long. Whatever works for you. But it's just the beginning of the show. A 12-minute show within a show. Where nothing, they say, well, tonight's show, nothing will happen, but we'll talk about it for 12 minutes. And you say, okay, that must be Sleep With Me. So there's an intro, then there's a little business between the intro and the story. And then for the story tonight, I think this will be our big return to Doctor Who, where we'll be talking about episode 2 from Doctor Number, whichever, I don't know, from the new series 2, which you'll figure it out. It'll be in the labels, but we'll be talking about Doctor Who, and I'll be doing plenty of meandering and prowling around like a house cat, where you say when a house cat's not chasing stuff, it's just walking around. Maybe I'll be sitting, on a still looking out a window. That's kind of how I observe Doctor Who when I'm watching it over and over again. I say, okay, well, that happened there. And then Rose said this. Also, Mickey handed the bag, what brand backpack was that? Noticed Mickey was wearing a Puma warm-up suit, but the Puma was covered because there's some brand issue. Just like if I ever got a Dustbuster warm-up suit, they'd probably say, okay, I said, don't worry, I'm going to change the D to an F. And they said, well, it's still our brand. And they say, well, my brand is filibustering. Let me talk to you about it for a few minutes and they say, no, we just don't want to. I say, well, I was in the middle of talking about the reason I have this warm-up suit is because but I can't filibuster right now because I'm trying to explain the structure of the show to new listeners. How about I meet you at Dustbuster Corporate? Oh, B&D Corporate. That sounds very clinical. Okay. Well, anyway, so there'll be talking about Doctor Who, sleeping with Doctor Who if you wish, or sleeping too. And then there's some thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. A few other things, you don't really need to listen to me, or you don't need to listen closely. Like a normal podcast, you might miss out on something. This, you could miss out on something, but you could always replay it. But most of the stuff you miss out on won't be super impactful. It'll just be friendly banter. And you're also under no pressure to fall asleep. I'm going to be here for about an hour. And the reason I make the shows about an hour is in case you have trouble falling asleep, I'm going to be here till the very end. If you can't fall asleep, you could play episodes back to back to back. But I'll be giving my all the way through to keep you company. So you could fall asleep as you wish. If you fall asleep during the intro really fast, that's great. If it takes you till the very end, or you need me just to keep you company, or you got something stressful at work and you need me to take your mind off of stuff, that's what I'm here for. I'm your boar friend. I'm your boar bud. I am your boar bae, your boar bestie, your boar bruh, your boar sib, whatever it is you like. I'm here to help. I've been there in the deep dark night, tossing and turning. Like last night, I woke up a couple times, but then I woke up at this one time and I said, okay, hopefully it's in the 5 a.m. range. So then then I could just get up if need be. It wouldn't be ideal, but I'll do it. And I said, okay. And I asked my smart speaker what time it is, so then I don't have to turn on any lights or look at anything. And I said, hey, smart speaker, what time is it? And she said 1:10 a.m. And if you've been there, you know what he said. I thought it was like 5:20. And that's what I was hoping for. So then I got up and read a little bit because I said, okay, that's not going to work. I don't know what my point was there. I think I was trying to make a point. Structure of the show. Oh, I've been there. Yeah, last night I was there. And then I got back in bed, and actually once I interrupted the cycle for about 20 minutes, I actually fell right back asleep and slept till my alarm. So it worked out. But there is that time when it feels like the HOPE has the LESS with it. And that's where I'm here to help. And one way I do it is to bust a filler. What if your job was, because they have the tag, I know there's a lot of comedy about these tags that say, do not remove this tag on pillows and mattresses. And it'd be I think that's the Bureau of Insulation that does that or something. Yeah, but what if that was your job? They said, well, what do you do? I'm a filler buster. I mean, really, I work for I'm a bureau investigator, but what I do is I bust filler. I go in there, I say, let me see your filler. Yeah. And then I say busted. That filler is not up to snuff. No, I guess I thought that would be better material, but the cats in my brain said, meow. I guess filibustering is better. Like if I could break dance. I mean, I do have a couple break dance moves, none of which are that good, but if I did break dance, it would be much better. I think there is a band, Filibuster, but I don't think they bust fills. They also, busting a fill kind of sounds, or filler. I don't know, maybe, I guess it was just a one-note joke. I was hoping to be more material, but it turns out it's not. But that's okay. I'm here to keep you company. I'm here to be your friend. I'm here to let me just puff your pillows instead of busting them. Or, you wouldn't mind me to bust a move on your pillows. But have there been any there was some themed breakdancing. There's like robot breakdancers. I don't know if there's ever any, like when Cats was big, the musical. We'll be talking about that briefly tonight. Was there anybody doing breakdancing and dressed as cats? Yeah, because I could do breakdance like a bed theme. I mean, I'd have to go find my Alfonso Ribeiro tapes or whatever. But if I could and I don't think it's a good idea for me to do this breakdancing, but, do some bed-themed breakdancing. Like I'd be in pajamas. I would have my cardboard look like a bed. I'd also have pillows and blankets. And instead of doing a headstand or a handstand, I'd do a pillow stand. There could be a lot of good swirling with the blankets and stuff and the pillows. And then, you could always finish, like a lot of people finish with their head on their elbow anyway. I could bust out and then just go to sleep. And I think that's something that's possible. Like we could get some binaural beats in there. And then it could be at the filibuster, bedtime, and maybe the whole time I could be talking and telling a bedtime. Maybe you don't know this, but maybe I'm busting some moves right now, but I'm not locking or popping. But anyway, I'm here to help. That's the main message. If you're new, give it a few tries. See how it goes. And there's no pressure. So just see how it goes. I'm here to help. I appreciate you trying this show out. I work very hard and I strive and I yearn not to pronounce things correctly, but to be here while you fall asleep. Thank you for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Are you thinking more about how to tighten up your budget these days? Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and customers can qualify for an average of 6 discounts when they sign up. A little off your rate each month goes a long way. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed in 2020. Potential savings will vary. Discounts vary and are not available in all states and situations. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, things on your mind, things you're feeling, things coming up. It could be on the road, someone else is on the road, a temperature, whatever it is, whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, rustified tangents, friendly banter, extra words. If you're new, let me give you, usually I go off topic for a few more minutes, but let me give you a couple things right up front. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. And I appreciate your time. And that's why I want to tell you these things. One, give this podcast a few tries, but when you do, you can consume it however you wish, but don't try to figure it out too much. Because you say, just kick back and passively kind of observe it. Kind of like watching a fish in a fish tank. It would be the best way to describe it. You don't really, I mean, there's not too many times you're focused. They don't say, hold on, I'm focused on the fish tank. They say, we got the lotteries on the other line, Bob. Well, hold on, I'm focused on the fish tank right now. I can't, I'm paying strict attention to these fish in this fish tank. And they say, well, it's about the lottery. They need to hear from you in the next 4 seconds. Sorry, I'm focused on the fish tank. Didn't you hear me the first time I said it? And then they say, okay, we got the whatever national greatest award winners award ever for award giving on the line. Well, no, I'm still watching the fish here. I'm focused on the fish tank. There's a whatever you call that, a treasure chest that opens every once in a while with bubbles. And they say, Bob, that fish tank's been in our home for 8 years. I got to get back to the treasure chest, because when it opens, then it closes again, and I'm trying to figure out what's in there. So you can't, like, I guess that would be an interesting way to consume podcasts or fish tanks. And there is something soothing sometimes about fish tanks. You know, everybody might have a different, but where you just kind of, you notice every once in a while you'll look at the fish. You'll say, you say, is the fish going to the number, are you going to the bathroom? Then you say, okay, I'm not going to look at the fish tank ever again. Inevitably you do. When you're feeding the fish, you usually give it attention. When you're when you're in a certain age range, I'd say 2nd grade to 5th or 6th grade, and you go over to somebody's house and they have a fish tank, you usually look in. Some people are tappers. Some people are not tappers. Maybe I'll come back to this fish tank metaphor. But so don't try, just kind of kick back and watch me like I'm a fish wandering around, because it's pretty much what I am. And they say, just like in those Pixar movies, they say, ooh, going around again. So that's one thing. Just try, don't focus too much. I'm here to help, and it's a bit different. It's pretty goofy, and it doesn't have to work. There's no pressure. There's no pressure on you to fall asleep. That's one thing. You can just kind of kick back, and I'm going to keep you company, and we'll see how it goes. But give it a few tries. It doesn't work for everybody, but really, in all honesty, I'm here to help if I can. Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, here's another thing. You don't need to listen to me. Like most podcasts, I guess I kind of said that. You say, a lot of other pets, they say, well, you're going to pet that pet? Or even, say, well, or you're going to watch, or the pet say, hey, give me some attention over here. Or a cat, it's more different. You say, the cat says, well, I don't want your attention, but now I do. If you're not going to get, it's more complicated. But a fish, I don't even know. The fish kind of says, is that person going to give me some food or what? No, I'll just keep wandering around then. And some fish, every fish is different. Again, I don't want to throw all the fish in one tank. No pressure to listen, no pressure to fall asleep. Structure the show. Show starts off with a few minutes of business. That's how we keep the podcast free and going twice a week. New shows come out Sunday and Wednesday nights. The show starts off with a few minutes of business, then an intro. The intros are around 12 minutes or so of me using a metaphor like a fish tank to describe how the podcast works for 12 minutes. Also put some people to sleep during the intro. Some people get ready for bed. Some people use it as part of their wind down routine, brushing their teeth and such. Some people listen during the day when they need a little break or a breather. Whatever it is, but the intro, it's not efficient, I guess I would say. Some podcast intros are very efficient. Welcome to the Newsy Newscast, where we talk about the latest news related to the musical Newsy and the Newsy fan community. Let's get started. Breaking news about Newsies. Scoots doesn't know very much about it, other than I like it when they sing on the trolley on California Adventure. Also, not even sure if that's related to Newsies. Here's an idea. What if if you're getting a fish tank, name your fish Nosy and Newsy, but not in an ironic way. Which they say, oh, is that about the current? No, it's about Newsies, the musical. It's just like how it's newsy. Nothing about news or anything other than the Newsies musical. That's why my fish is named Newsy. Oh, I didn't know you were a fan of Newsy, the musical. No, I'm working on my own musical called Snoozy. It's actually doesn't have any music in it. It's a sleep podcast. And that's just an accidental pun I came across when I said Newsies 55 times in a row, that I should have a musical called Snoozy. I definitely ask Swoozy Kurtz to appear in it. So anyway, what was that? I don't know what I was saying. Oh, the intros can be long and rambling, and they don't make a lot of sense. But they're here to help. They're here to take your mind off stuff, to take the stress off of bedtime, and to keep you company. And that's what the kind of show does. So there's the intro, then there's a story. Tonight, it'll be a little bit of a personal connection. It's going to be mostly about the 1950s revival that happened in the 70s in the cusp of the 80s, and some of my personal relationships with some of the pop culture at that time, particularly Sha Na Na. And maybe to be honest, it'll be a little bit of a healing journey. I think I'll bring my friend, my imaginary friend Bill along with me. So that'll be tonight's bedtime story. And it'll be lulling and soothing. And, you say, who's in for some of you, you could sleep through it because you say, I'm not familiar with any of those things. I say, well, you could look in the show notes or listen during the day or just Google it. So that'll be what we're talking about. Then we'll have in between the intro and the show, we have some business. And at the end of the show, we have some thank yous. So what was I saying though? So I guess like the whole idea of the show is that it's like a little bit of a fish tank. Because I think like a fish, the podcast is supposed to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. It's supposed to be a distraction and a friendly presence to keep you company. To make you, to be honest, to make things less lonely and less serious at bedtime. And I could see this as a parental strategy, and it's pure projection because my parents did not use this strategy. But you say, okay, well, you want a puppy. Well, how about a fish? Like a little you want a cat? Seems like a big commitment. How about a fish? In the hopes, I would imagine, that the fish would distract you from they say, okay, well, you're getting a pet, and maybe it's a good testing ground to say, well, can you care for this pet? Or that kind of comes in a self-contained own environment, that does involve some maintenance. So I've heard. I don't think I've owned any as an adult. As kids, we had fish on and off. Yeah, but so what was my point? I remember setting a few fish for free. But like goldfish free. But so, they say, well, let's get the kid a fish, get Junior a fish, and maybe that'll take their mind off of stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there is a percentage of people, and that's a wonderful thing, that are fish enthusiasts, because you hear about saltwater tanks and, all that kind of stuff, and they say, you maybe as a child you inherit your parents or relatives' passion for fish. I don't know what you call it. Like I know a fishmonger is someone that sells fish, and a fisher person is someone that fishes for fish, and that's like so. I don't know what a fish enthusiast is called. A fish fan, I guess it would be a fish fan. I like the band Fish, but that's a different thing. But so you'd say, okay, well, or maybe just as a kid, you say, well, what do you want for Christmas? You say, well, I'd like this, or I'd like to have like some games or, something I could use my imagination with, or maybe an art pad. Maybe I want something that makes, bells, that has bells and whistles on it and some tinsel, like not tinsel, but I always wanted something with those ribbons, I don't know what they're called, tassels. I'd like something with tassels. They'd say, tassels? I say, yeah, that's what I'd like. Tassels and ribbons, please. But maybe some children say, what I've always wanted is a fish of my own. Okay, that'll be in the musical. That's a definitely easy number. in the Snoozicle. What did I say it was going to be called? The Snoozicle, starring Swoozie Kurtz, A Fish of My Own. That'll start when she plays little Andy in her room. And yeah, I think this, to talk about changing subjects, but I could see it. Swoozie Kurtz, she's playing the great sleep podcaster, Swoozina. And she's talking about the days when she was a little Andy in her room. And that she would her first, that would be her first, I mean, there'd be a number first, because I think that usually there's like 2 songs. And then she would say that would be what she needed. This would also set up a metaphor for the rest of the musical. And it would be, the song would be A Fish of My Own. Maybe it's already in one of the musicals. It could be. So it'd be like maybe that she's gone somewhere and seen someone else that has fish. And she just wants a fish of her own. And it could also like, then it would also, we could use it for exposition for the parents, because one of the parents would be like, don't you want some sea monkeys? Don't you want some sea monkeys? And, or maybe a sibling says that, and then they say, those are just fake. So anyway, back to the podcast. So the whole idea of the podcast is to keep you company. Like I said, well, yeah, you got that fish in your room, Swoozie. And she says, actually, I'm the actress. I'm playing a role. I'm not don't get super meta where you're talking to me. Talk to Andy. They say, okay, well, we know you wanted a puppy and a cat, but we got you this fish. And she's also said, this is the wrong musical because this one I'm asking for a fish. I say, you know what, believe it or not, Swoozie, you're going to have to excuse me. I'm in the middle of a sleep podcast introduction. Not the imaginary musical I never wrote about that you're starring in within my imagination. And also, how come I can't get tickets to a music? Like, it's easier to get tickets to Hamilton than to get tickets to this musical, the Swoozicle. The Swoozicle. That's the industry name for it, Swoozie, because you're so great in it. That was what a review I was going to write was, you'll swoon for Swoozie in the Swoozicle. That's not a snoozicle. And soon you'll be asking, who's the whoosicle? When you get served from the Seuss estate, the Seuss estate, they say we can't use any of those. Anyway, if you're a new listener, sorry, Swoozie, let me get you coffee. Also, would you like a fish? That's why you're saying, okay, here you go. There you go. A fish of your own. Okay, I think I got out of that one. So if you're new, the podcast's a little bit different, a little bit goofy, a little bit silly. Here to keep you company. Here to be your friend. I've been there in the deep, dark night, tossing and turning. And if I can, I'd like to distract you to make bedtime feel a little bit less serious. And I'll be here for an hour. So you drift off when you do. And if you don't, I'll be here till the very end. You can queue up another episode, too. And I'll be your companion here. And I say this every time because I mean it. I appreciate your time. And I work very hard. I yearn and I strive. I'd really love it if I could help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in your schedule, time, temperature, noise, whatever it is. I'd like to take your mind off that. I'd like to keep you company and create a safe place where you could get away from it a little bit, get some distance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, rustified tangents. I'm going to go off topic, circular and ovular logic, and a bunch of other stuff. But mostly I'm going to try to use friendly banter to keep you company. And if you're new, let me tell you a couple of things about the structure of the show and what to expect. Structurally, the show starts off with a couple of minutes of business. That's how we keep it going and free. Then there's an intro, which we just started. The intros are around 12 minutes, and they're a bit longer than a concise intro. I guess it'd be the opposite of concise. But they are a beloved, like a part of a regular Sleep With Me listener experience. So if you're new, kind of give it a chance and see what you think. Some listeners use it as they're getting ready for bed as part of their wind down. Because the intro is also a show within a show, they fall asleep during. They'll listen for 5 or 10 minutes as they drift off and actually fall asleep. Some listeners skip the intro to get straight to the story. So there's no wrong way to listen to it. Just kind of, you just passively consume it and see how it goes. That's the intro. Content-wise in the intro, it's me trying to explain what the podcast is, trying to create a safe place that's a little bit familiar but different every time, and try to make you feel welcome and know what to expect. But it just takes me, I say, well, which part should I explain to them? And they say, what was I talking about? And I said, well, let me think about this. And then I say, oh, wait, I'm trying to explain the structure of the show. And then 12 minutes have gone by, and, maybe 30% of the audience is asleep. So that's the intro. Then there's the story, which tonight you're in for a treat because it's a real-time recipe where it's a bit like a cooking show, but at the end of it you say, I'm not sure, was there any food prepared? Did I learn any? No, you were either comforted or put to sleep by it. But we'll take a trip to a grocery store and we'll prepare a meal for some friends. So just more of a friendly dinner atmosphere. It's the best kind of dinners. And it'll be not one pot, a few pots, but not too many. I'll do the dishes. I'll do the prep work. And I'll do the cooking. Don't worry. Between the intro and the story, we have a little bit more business. And then at the end of the show, we have some thank yous. So that's the structure of the show. As far as what else to expect, even though this is a podcast, you don't really need to listen. You can listen, and I do make a show with the percentage of listeners in mind that are really having trouble sleeping and that are going to be here till the end. So I do make it a whole show. I'll be here till the end, but because I'm here to the end, I think in some paradoxical way, that means you can fall asleep whenever you want, and that you don't need to listen to me. You can, but I don't make a whole lot of sense, and I take forever to get there, and it can be a bit jumbled and a bit confusing, but it's friendly. I'm here to help. So kind of listen loosely if you can, and maybe the first few tries, the first few listens, you might try to understand the show or make some sense of it. But after a while, like most regular listeners say, well, I figured out that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then I started falling asleep right away. So that's the goal. You can listen, but you don't need to. And some listeners turn the volume almost all the way down to just have some friendly noise going on. And even though this is a sleep podcast, you're also under pressure to fall asleep. I'm going to be here for about an hour to keep you company as you fall asleep. So like I said, some people fall asleep during the intro. Some people are here to the very end. Some people listen to 8, 9 episodes every single night. Some people turn the show on. They don't listen to go to bed. They listen when they get up to go to the restroom or whatever it is in the middle of the night. So there's no wrong way to listen, but there's no pressure to fall asleep. That's why I make the show so long. When I first started making the podcast, the episodes were only like 15, 20, 30 minutes. And I kept thinking about it. I'm like, well, if I listen to the show, I'd want plenty of time to fall asleep. I wouldn't want to have to be asleep in 15 or 20 minutes. I'd want a long runway. That way I do have this safe, relaxing place to be in. And plenty of room to drift off. And now there's plenty of other episodes, so you can line them up back to back if you need. And what that means is just fall asleep, as is convenient. Just rest and kind of listen to me. And the reason I make the show is because I still find sleep baffling. I had a lot of trouble falling asleep as a kid. And that's when my issues with sleep began. And, a lot of it is, for me, is due to overthinking, though I've heard from so many listeners, and there's so many different reasons why you can't sleep, but it comes down to my belief you do deserve a good night's sleep. And even when I think about myself as a kid in fifth and sixth grade, not being able to sleep, I don't know if an adult could have fixed things. In that there were adults that wanted to, like my parents, but the fact that I kind of longed, I didn't realize at the time this is what I longed for, but just someone to be like, hey, let me tell you a story and be here while you can't sleep. And maybe that comfort will let you drift off. And, still now, like this week, it's been when sometimes I have stuff on my mind, I can't sleep. And then other times I have stuff on my mind, I fall asleep. But then it's like I'm like half asleep and half dreaming and running through stuff. And so I know how it feels. And I'd like to interrupt that and take your mind off stuff, keep you company. Yeah, be your boar friend, be your boar bud, be your boar bae, be your boar bestie. Just like when I was a kid, I listened to the radio, to the Dr. Demento show. If you're a regular listener, you probably heard me talk about it before, but it was this radio show on Sunday nights, I think from 9 to 11 p.m. And when I was in fifth and sixth grade, I was doing a lot of thinking about school, especially Sunday nights, because I hadn't been there in a couple of days. And so by listening to Dr. Demento, and it was a radio show where Dr. Demento was the host, and there was all these, they would play parody songs. They would usually do like a top 5, parody and songs, kind of like Weird Al. Weird Al was really popular on Dr. Demento. And there'd just be themes or bits, and it was just funny. It made me laugh. It made me feel like I was a part of something, and it drew my attention away from the other stuff. And that's what I hope I can do for you, is it could be your friend here in the night. And that's what I'm applying for. And tonight, like I said, we'll take a little trip to a grocery store. We'll look on the shelves. We'll think about the ingredients. And it'll be calm, because you see, that's the best time to visit a grocery store, is when somebody else is doing the shopping, scoots, and we're more floating through the aisles, and it's kind of like you can just barely read the labels, and everything's a little bit out of focus, and I'm, trying to make quips and keep you in mind to talk to you, and you say, okay, what is that ingredient over there? Is that some sort of gourd? And then what if I talk to a gourd? And this doesn't happen in the episode, but I was just thinking, like, did gourds have nicknames? And is there a gourd nicknamed Gordo or Gordy? What if it was I'm Gordy the Gourd. And I'd say, pleased to meet you, Gordy. I'm Scoots Magoots. I'm here doing a podcast episode. Well, I was doing a podcast intro, and then I was trying to wrap it up, and then suddenly I met you, Gordy. Gordy the Gourd. Do you go by Gordo, Gordy? You can. And I always get mixed up with gourds. Just Gordy, when people say hollowed out gourd, how does that make you feel? It's a stage of circle of life. You're right, Gordy. Does anybody call you Gourd? What about Gordon? Well, Gordon's your father. How does that work? The whole gourd thing? Because some gourds do. Okay, let's not go there. You're right, Gordy. Gordy, do you listen to Everything is Alive, the podcast? Have you listened to that one? No. Well, yeah, they actually get on the mic. Maybe you could think about going on there. It's a great podcast, but yeah, you should check it out. You don't have ears. Well, then how's this working? Is it mind to mind, spirit to spirits? Oh, it's in my imagination. Thanks. Well, it's great meeting you, Gordo. Yeah, enjoy your time at the supermarket, and I'll check in with you later. All right, hey, everybody, I'm back. Sorry, it was a little side trip there. But like I was saying, I really appreciate you checking the show out. as a lot of regular listeners say, it does take a few episodes for it to work. So give it a few tries. But there's no pressure. I'm just here to help the people that I can, to keep you company if I can, to make things feel a little bit less serious if I can, and to ideally help you get the sleep you deserve. I really do believe that. And that is why I work so hard and I strive, because I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, like anything keeping you up. Changes in work schedule, routine, travel, new family members, no offense, adult parents, older family members, any family members, soundly sleeping bedmates. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders. There's a first time for everything on this podcast. For the first time in this, I don't know if this is going to work, and I don't even know really why. When you catch yourself doing something physically, and you say, well, that's interesting, Drew, Scoots, what are you up to there? I have what is that? So this is my right hand. And I have my right index finger. The rest of my hand is kind of closed, but my right index finger is out in a kind of hook pointing position to the left part of my forehead. No, the right part of your left brain. It is on the right side of my forehead. And it's just perched there, kind of like I was pointing to something, or if I was touching something. But I don't have anything that says, I want to touch that. See, am I getting my hormones going? It wasn't that, saying, oh boy, I'm prepubescent, got some acne. And it wasn't a little, just scratchy poo. I just found my finger there. Now, actually, I do, what a phlebotomist is, someone that can read the folds, anyway, I'm supposed to be setting this up. And also my arm's getting tired. But yeah, my finger's just up there. Kind of like I was saying, I'm thinking. But what made me say, I'm thinking is, hey, body, what are you doing? So maybe maybe somewhere in another universe, I'm thinking about something. Here, I'm just talking without thinking. If you're new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Now, this podcast does not work for everyone. But here's a proposal, and you're free to accept it or go about your business. Give it a few tries, see if it helps, see if it puts you to sleep, see if it relaxes you, makes you more comfortable. See how it goes. The podcast is free to consume, particularly for new listeners. You could come in and browse. You say, well, what do you mean I can come in this restaurant, taste the food, and see what I think? I say, oh, yeah, because all of it's imaginary here. I do have a business I'm working on, sipping broth. So we could pretend it's that. You come in and you say, it's sipping broth. The first sip is free. That's not going to be our catchphrase, but that would be one of our tenants, you see. Well, how do you run things? Well, the first sip is free. It's a very small sip, though, and it's a regulated sip. And believe me, I'm behind the counter. And I say, whoa, you've had sorry. Comes in those ketchup, the paper things you could put just a dollop of ketchup in. Yeah, that's what we serve. Our first sip is free. Okay, sorry. New listeners. New listeners. I may have lost a few of you there. Maybe you fell asleep. Maybe you said, oh, wait, maybe this isn't for me. But if you're in the neutral zone, which is a pretty wide range of the spectrum, you might say, oh, I don't understand. When I say, yeah, kick back, see if this podcast can help. Don't try to overthink it because, I'm not running I don't know how many cylinders the average brain has. And some part of my brain just said, there's no cylinders. Then another part said, we're not cylindrical. And I said, great. Some of you were paying attention in the part of the C alphabet vocabulary. Cynical. Another part of my brain just yelled out cynical. Why would you do that? We were having fun with cylinder and cylindrical. And now I'm wanting to sing a song about, it's like I'd sing, it's not unusual to be cylindrical. Maybe a car could sing, maybe a car's already saying that, like a double A MCO. Maybe it's saying that song. No. Okay. Well, I got to get back to the new listeners. So nice to meet you. Whom are you? Really? I'm talking to a part of my brain refuses to answer that question. Okay. Anyway, if you're a new listener, don't try to make too much sense of things because it's a bit of nonsense around here. And the whole idea of the nonsense type stuff in the going off topic. I mean, I'm good at going off topic naturally, and I'm good at nonsense actually naturally. But I believe it, brings some levity to bedtime. And soon you'll realize, yeah, okay, I can try to follow Scoots. I can follow him. But he goes, pointless meanders, send my voice across the deep dark night, lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, go off topic, all that stuff. So, just give it a few tries, see if it works. Structurally, what to expect. The show starts off with a few minutes of business. That's how we keep it free. As the people that support the show and the sponsors. Then there's an intro. We're about 7 minutes into the intro. Intros are around 12 minutes. They are not like anything other than a fun show within a show. Well, I say fun. Part of my brain just put quotes around it already. But it's a part of the show where you can get familiar, or there'll be some familiarity, some levity. There'll be some cylindrical thinking. For sure. This is strange. I don't always observe everything that's going on. Some part of my brain just yelled out stupendous, but just as a word, not saying what I said was stupendous. What is it? That's called free association, right? When I said cylindrical, another part of my brain said stupendous. And then, okay, we don't need you chiming in with other STU words unless it's sturgeon. Thank you. I'll take over from here. At least I'm in charge of the consciousness today. So the intro is kind of like a show within a show. Sometimes new people or people say, oh, it's like a bit of it's just a show within a show. Some people listen to it to fall asleep. Some people listen to it. More and more people I'm hearing from listen to it during the day to say, whoa, that was had some intensity to it. Let me listen to a little Scoots. Or, I got to make that phone call later. Let me listen to some Scoots. So you could do that. A few people skip the intro. They go right to the story or the discussion of Doctor Who, which will be tonight. So however you do it, a lot of people also send me pictures when they play in the intro, their cats or their dogs. Or, I'd like to see some turtles coming. That would they say, Scoots, your intros are just the same length it takes my turtle to come get in bed with me. And I said, whoa, hold the phone here. You get in bed with the turtle. It kind of makes sense because you couldn't roll over on the turtle because if it would be in its shell, the turtles always sleep in their shells. That would be another thing. And I'm not talking about in cartoons. I'm talking about in reality. And here's another thing. What if a turtle oversleeps and then they do the same thing as humans do? When they stick their head out of the shell, they say, oh, the sun, what time is it? Holy mackerel. Now I'm going to be really late because it takes me forever to get, no offense. I'm not trying to make jokes at your expense, turtles. I'm just saying, if you're listening and you have a turtle as a bedmate, a real turtle, not a turtle-like being. Well, if you have a turtle-like being, it's a bedmate. Also but not someone in a turtleneck. You say, oh yeah, Randy wears a turtleneck to bed. Also, if they do, get in touch with me about that too. And also, that'd be interesting. You see, of course, when I started to sleeping in turtlenecks, I never went back. He said, really, tell me more. I'm deep in this intro, but I was trying to tell the new listeners, but tell me more about wearing turtlenecks to bed. Well, which type? No, not a mock turtleneck, first off. And I don't know why they don't call those quarter turtlenecks or half turtlenecks. The double one where you fold it over, where you could go all, if you wanted to, you could, unroll it up to your nose. But you get a nice fold in there. And it's just, it's just like a comforter for my neck. What can I say? See, you're brilliant. You may have changed pajamas forever. Today on Sleep With Me. Can we does anybody have the number for pajamas today? That doesn't exist. What about pajamas weekly? The internet took them. What about pajamas monthly? Okay, they were purchased by Vanity Fair. Really? That's good. That's interesting. That's pajamas monthly. What about PJs? There we go. I get back to. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Great. Do you edit for one of the PJ monthly? What about PJ quarterly? Oh, that's a quarterback, really? PJ quarterly. They should run for office. This podcast episode was brought to you by PJ Quarterly. So anyway, if you're new, structure of the show. The intro goes on for a while. Then there's some business. Then we talk about a Doctor Who episode in a very meandering and indirect way. And then we have some thank yous and good nights. So this is a structure show. You're under no pressure to listen and no pressure to fall asleep. I'm here to keep you company as you drift off, to take your mind off of stuff, to be your bore friend, to be your bore bud. To be your friend in the deep dark night. You know why? Because I've been there, tossing and turning. I know how it feels. And I believe you deserve a good night's sleep. Or if you're having a rough day, or you did, something to say, hey, let's think about this. Let's think about whatever random stuff it just rattled off 12 minutes of randomness. And, seriously, the last couple ideas I think have some merit. PJ Quarterly. Somebody think about naming. Maybe you could, like, if you're entering if you're entering your turtle in a competition, I think that would be a good name for a turtle, especially one that you dress up as like a professor at Halloween. You'd say, I'd like to meet my turtle, PJ Quarterly. PJ for short, or Peach. Also, I sleep in the same bed as my turtle. So I just want to get, I don't know if that's a deal breaker. Oh, it is? Okay. What was it? The fact that my turtle had a first name and a last name and possibly two first names because PJ could stand for something? Or the fact, people's dogs sleep in their beds. Oh, see, maybe this could keep the conversation going. How does the turtle get in bed? Maybe it jumps that you'd have to, okay, get back to the listener. Sorry about that. Okay, hey, so I'm here to keep you company. I'm here to put you in a good mood, ideally, or a neutral mood. You'd say, Scoots is him. I don't know what he was messing around last night. I don't know, something about some tortoise related, maybe tortoiseshell glass, a tortoise and tortoiseshell glasses. I can't believe I thought of this at the end of the intro. That's not a good thing. You're right, PJ. Maybe a PJ Quarterly. Meet my new subconscious, PJ Quarterly. If my subconscious is very turtle-like, and it has can you deal with my lizard brain, please? Thank you. Okay, so anyway, I'm here to help. I'm here to keep you company. I appreciate you checking this show out. You give it a few tries. And I want you to know I work very hard, and I yearn and I strive to help you fall asleep, all right? And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. Yeah, this is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. You do it with a bedtime. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, Maybe there's something physically keeping you up. Maybe there's something you're experiencing emotionally that's keeping you up. Maybe you're on the road. Maybe you just two nights ago, you know you have to get up early. That happened for me. Or you were in a social situation and you said, well, trying to wind down. Maybe you got a change in work schedule. Maybe you just can't sleep and you want a friend there to keep you company while you drift off. Well, that's what I'm here to do. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I don't know if I think I probably use this disconnected dialogue. I've been disconnected a few times. The multitude of ways I could use the word disconnection, if I could say multitude and disconnection. But I'm here to help you kind of unconnect. What is it? Is it disconnect? What is it called when you go to bed and you chill out and they say, well, I guess it's unplug, they say. But really, you want to, I call it moon mode or something, because you say, well, I want to know it's charged. I'm not going to unplug it. I'm not going to bring it in bed with me. The devices, but you say, you want it charged. Disengage. I guess that was the word I was looking for. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm here to help you disengage. If you're new, I said I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night, lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, right? I'm here to help. So what I'm going to do, if you're new, is this is a podcast that you don't need to listen to or try to make sense of. It's a bit like a passing cloud where you say, well, it kind of looks like this, but now it's gone or it's changing and it's wispy. I mean, my voice is crisp. It's not crispy. It's creaky. It's not, I guess maybe some people would say it sounds a little bit crispy. But it's not wispy, but my thoughts are wispy. Holy cow. I said, I didn't even know what, I did know what wispy was, because they say when I look at a cloud, I say, well, that's kind of how I feel sometimes. And I guess because of the power of clouds, you could kind of do that, no matter what anyway. So, well, that one looks a little, frowny. That one looks like I want to curl up, get a little bit more comfortable here. This one looks like I'm in the middle of podcast intro where I was trying to explain something to a new listener, and then I got off track, and now I want to curl up a little bit more and come back and say, oh, yeah, you don't need to listen to me. That was thing one. Did I mention I'm glad you're here? I hope I can help. So the podcast you don't need to listen to. There's also no pressure to fall asleep. We're going to be here about an hour. Or I'll be here. You drift off when you want. But if you need me, I'm here to the very end. Like if you can't sleep or you woke up or you were like me the other night where you say, what in the heck? I just want to I got to get up in like 3 hours or 4 hours. Like, why can't I just get to sleep here? I'll be here with some goofy stuff or goofing around or a story in this case to keep you company, to try to distract you, at least take your mind off things. But ideally, as I take your mind off things and you realize I'm a little bit disconnected or whatever, unengaged, it's a weird kind of a semi-engagement I'm trying to do. Almost like it's not sitting in silence, obviously, but when you have a relationship with someone that where you can disengage side by side in silence, it's very picturesque, sitting there in rocking chairs. I would presume, at least in this image in my mind, rocking chairs separately, and you're just chilling. You're not talking. You're not really doing anything. Now, maybe the other person, maybe one of you is listening to birds. Maybe the other person's watching birds. Maybe one of you, maybe someone might be working with yarn or knitting. But whatever it is, what was my point? Oh, you don't need to listen to me. No pressure to fall asleep. I'm going to be here to keep you company, to be at your side as you drift off, as your thoughts get wispy, and so maybe ideally float away or dissipate. So that's a couple of things. Structure the show. Show starts off with a few minutes of business, which you may have heard. And that's how we keep the show going and 300 episodes out there free. Then there's some business sometimes between the intro and the episode. If you're a regular listener, it's important. If you're new, not super important. Then there's an intro, which usually the intros are around 12 minutes. I think we're probably already 6 minutes into it. And it's kind of a show within a show where I try to give an example, like I said, where you can't sleep, and then try to explain how the podcast works. And I've never been so successful that I'm like, that's the intro. I'm going to use that for every episode henceforth, or heretofore, or going forward. I'm always like, almost caught what the podcast was there, but not quite. So there's an intro, around 12 minutes. Some listeners will fall asleep during the intro. A lot of listeners use it as part of their wind-down routine, where they say, this is my bore buddy, here to help me fall asleep, here to help me drift off. I'm going to get my teeth brushed. I'm going to get my bed set, get all my bedding arranged how I like it. Do some initial tossing and turning while Scoots is talking. Do some cat, like a cat does to its bed or a dog does. Maybe do some dog where you push your pillow with your head a little bit. Pillow nudging, I think that's what dogs call it. Or at least when I say, what are you doing, nudging your pillow? And then they just look at me. I would assume that's a yes, or I assume it's, what do you think I'm doing? Well, it looks like you're nudging your pillow with your head. And then they give me another look. What do you think? And I say, okay. So I don't understand. Are you not nudging your pillow with your head, or are you? And my dog does actually sigh. So I have that advantage. And then I have to kind of, and I don't know if this happens in interpersonal relationships. For me, it does. You say, okay, what did that sigh mean? Oh boy. Like, maybe I won't think of it till I get into bed, pull the covers up, and I say, remember when Koa sighed earlier when you asked her 5 times in a row if she was nudging her pillow? Did I mean nooging her pillow? Oh, man, and maybe that made her think of the Nooge, which was a failed Halloween costume when we were going to go together. Oh, no. And then you say, no wonder she sighed at me. What kind of dog owner am I? Asking my dog about nudging instead of just letting her nudge her pillow in silence. So I don't know if that keeps anybody up. It probably, it has, maybe she's sighing about something else. Did she do, I mean, usually dogs are, at least with dogs, they say, hey, they have a way of getting us a message like, hey, I got to go to the friggin' bathroom. It's kind of like when you're on a plane, and for me, it's always a debate, hopefully I don't get the middle seat. So then it's like, well, if I get an aisle seat, I can go to the bathroom whenever I want. If I get a window seat, I get to look out the window, which I really enjoy. And also, if it's a day flight, and the only time I can sleep on flights is if it's a day flight and I'm trying to get work done, and then I can sleep like a baby. So then, of course, I could sleep against the wall, like the body. But otherwise, it's like, for me, I'm like I try to say, the perfect situation is everybody in the whole row goes to the bathroom at the same time. I mean, gets up and goes. The first part of that would be, I guess it would never be a perfect situation. It would be some sort of, talk about sympathetic vibrations. But otherwise I spend my time kind of trying to say, okay, that person's taking their headphones out. Maybe I should make my move now. I just had a flight where I did it twice. The woman sitting in the aisle got up, and I said to the young man between us, I said, well, I better go now. But that was pretty early on, and it was a long flight, and I had drank the drink the plane provided me, 2 cups of coffee before the flight left, and a Mountain Dew that I bought at the airport. And then as the flight started to go on, I said to myself, do I need, I had the internal debate. These are the kind of things that could keep me up at night, too. I said, do I need to go? Do I not need to go? Should I, in reality, say, well, it's not that big of an inconvenience to ask 2 people to stand up for an adjusted person. But for me, I said, oh, boy, And then I was reading about it. I said, wonder if either one of these two was thinking about this. And then I can't remember which one of the people in my row got up, but I said, maybe that was the first time all three of us got up and went. The second time, I said, no, I think, well, I don't know. But I was debating it, and then I was saying, well, I don't really, this is like, would it be a preemptive strike? Like, because I think there was like an hour, they said, hey, about an hour and 15 minutes till we get on the ground. And I said, well, that's like, you never know how long you'll be sitting there after you get on the ground. So, instead of, this is what bedtime can be like for me. I don't know if it was like I said, but then finally, then the woman at the aisle got up, and maybe the young man got up too. I think that's what happened the first time, though, because I think he was still in his seat. But that time, like, I didn't think it was like a situation. I said, well, now I'll go because she got up, so it's less of an inconvenience. And then when I said, holy cow, I was like, whoa, good thing I did because I guess, sorry, this might be TMI, but I said, well, then I ran through my drinks like I just did. And I said, oh. That would have been just uncomfortable, I guess, waiting. And even that, a lot of people would say, who does that? Like, and I know some of you can relate to say, yeah, I do. I proactively going to the bathroom, proactive. I call it being proactive. Other people call it worrying. I said, well, what do you want me to think about on the plane? The movie or the work I'm doing? Or I said, well, I got extra brain space to say, well, when should we go to the bathroom? Well, when you have to go. Oh, okay, well, but which point? Because doesn't we always have to go, kind of? Well, how much do we, well, now that you mention it, now that's all I can think about. Well, we just went 10 minutes. Oh, we did. Oh, boy. So I don't know if bedtime gets like that for any of you. But what I found, even in that situation, is if you get distracted, if your mind gets carried away by the beauty of the passing plane, PLAINE, you see Des Moines, or you might say, so we're flying over Sioux Falls, or you say, what is that? A circle there. Suddenly it's a different situation when you're removed from those thoughts, when you're taken away, or you get it taken care of, and then you get back to your seat. So, whew, let me get back to playing Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, which I just allow myself when we're in the takeoff and landing. Pro tip: if that kind of stuff, it's not a cheap game. I think it's like $5.99. But if those two things stress you out, and you like pick yourself, and you like a little simulation. In near 8-bit style, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, pick it up. Holy cow, you won't even notice. You'll be like, wait a second, is your seat tray down? Okay, that means I got to get to work. But I didn't even notice it was seat tray time. Anyway, the podcast is kind of here to fill a role like that, a little bit more personal, a little bit more friendly. I'm here to help because I've been there, whether it's just the thoughts or, at night. I'm here to help. Now, this podcast doesn't work for everybody, especially the first time, so give it a few tries. See if it works for you. See how it goes. Most listeners say it took 2 or 3 times, but I'm here to help it. I wish it worked for everybody. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. You could try, let me know. I could say, well, these are some other things I tried. I hope it works for you. I work very hard, and I yearn and I strive to help you fall asleep. Thank you again for coming by. And here's a few ways we keep the show going.